Hey folks, welcome back to Real Estate Investing Unmasked. Today, we're going to talk about research. So one of the things I wished I would have known about before I started investing in real estate is how much research you really should be doing before you buy a property. When I first started, there are a couple of things that I thought were the all-end-all to real estate investing. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I read a bunch of other books, and mainly they all said, buy a property, borrow as much as you can, buy this property, and as long as it cash flows, it's good. That's not really the case. See, I ended up buying a property in Mississippi. I'll give you an example. I bought this property in Mississippi. I put zero down. Matter of fact, I put no money down, and when I closed escrow on this property, I got $5,400 back at closing. I thought, woo-wee, I have figured this thing out. Well, about a year and a half later, I didn't have that property anymore. What happened was, I didn't do my research. I bought this property from a group of people that were selling on a radio program, and I thought, okay, these guys are reputable. They're offering you get this property. You got good credit. You've got good credit and history in your background of renting property. You're going to be great. We can get you this property with zero down, and you'll have cash at closing. The way this transaction was set up was I got a hard money loan that they rolled the fees and the points into the loan. Then we used that to buy the property, and we immediately refinanced that property, where we rolled all the fees and everything into the property. And the amount of money that was left over after that was done was a little over $5,000, about $5,400, which was great. Like I said, I was all crazy because at the same time it had been advertised that I would get $400 a month in cash flow, which is another woo-hoo. The only problem is they had set it up wrong. They put in a Section 8 tenant. And the Section 8 tenant, that means the government is paying the rent, essentially, for this tenant. They're low income, or they're trying to get through hard times, whatever it is, they're in Section 8. It's guaranteed rent every month, as long as you're doing your job. The people who had bought the property and fixed it up before they sold it to me had put in a Section 8 tenant that was allowed $800 a month for the Section 8 payment. Then they told the Section 8 tenant they had to pay an additional $400 on top of that rent. So it was $1,200 a month for their rent. My mortgage was set up to be $800 a month. So I was essentially making $400 a month cash flow, which I thought that was wonderful. The problem that came was a couple months later, about 3 months or so, that tenant got wise. That tenant talked to the Section 8 people, and they found out that you're not allowed to pay extra rent on top of the Section 8 amount. So guess what happened to my lease? Instead of getting $1,200 a month for my lease, I was put right back down to $800 a month, and I was not allowed to charge more than $800 a month for that rental. Which means now I'm not cash flowing anything. What happened next was the basement flooded. So I had to pay out of pocket to take care of the drainage problem. Then we had the toilets backing up. I had to pay again to have a drainage problem taken care of in the sewer. Then the sewer line burst, or the septic line burst. I don't even remember what it was anymore, but it burst, which means we had sewage in the front yard, which means I had to pay out of pocket again. Then we had electrical problems inside the house. Well, when we looked at the electrical panel, apparently, from what I was told, I never went out there, I never ever saw the property, but what I was told was it was essentially a lightning bolt that was arcing inside my electric box the whole time that was feeding electricity to my house. It was amazing that it didn't burn down. I wished it would have burned down because I would have gotten insurance money that would have paid off the whole mortgage, and I would have sold the land. I paid for all these things with that $5,400 and then some. The rent that I got for the tenant, I used that to keep the mortgage going for a little while. Then what happened was I had a tree fall down. I had a tree that was about 6 to 8 feet in diameter fall down. It didn't fall down anywhere. Oh no, it missed the house. Barely. It landed on the driveway. Which means now the tenant can't get in and out of the garage. That was over $2,000 to take care of that tree. Now, at the same time, granted, I had about 10 other properties that I was working with. I think it was 12 other properties I was working with that I had bought and I was working on. And I couldn't afford the $2,000 to remove that tree. So what happened? My tenant moved out. The whole time, I had to pay my property manager, which I forgot to tell you about that. I had to pay my property manager, property taxes. All of that came out of that $800 a month, which means no longer was I not only neutral on my cash flow, I was negative on my cash flow. I was losing money every month. On top of all these repairs, I just kept going. All this leads back to one thing. I didn't do my research. I didn't go to the property. I didn't have the property inspected by a home inspector, which I'll talk about that on another day because home inspectors are an interesting story too. I had a property manager I'd never met before. I had to trust him that he was doing what he said he was doing, that all these things were happening. I was getting bills for all these things, but I didn't do my research. I ended up losing the house. I lost the house because I couldn't pay anymore. I didn't have a tenant. I couldn't put a tenant in. I couldn't remove the tree. And I just couldn't keep up making those payments on a house that was bringing nothing in. And at the same time, all my other properties had also lost their tenants. I didn't do my research. I looked at the property and I said, oh, it cash flows. That sounds good. Oh, it cash flows $400 a month? Hey, that's a great number. I didn't go look at the property. I didn't have somebody else look at the property. I honestly didn't know the area in Mississippi. I had never been to this property ever. I didn't look up other houses in the same area to see if it was even worth what I was getting the loan on it for, because it turns out I was not only getting cash back at closing because I was refinancing, there was a problem. I was buying the house overpriced. I was so focused on that little gem of getting cash back at closing that I didn't pay attention to all the other warning signs that would have been there. My house that I bought in Mississippi was probably about $20,000 overpriced. And when you're talking about houses between the $80,000 and $100,000 price range, $20,000 is a lot overpriced. So I got screwed. So one of the things I wish I'd known before I had gotten into real estate investing was how to do my research. So make sure you do yours. And if you have questions about how to do that, ask me down below, and I will help you out. I've been investing in real estate now for over 15 years. And that's why I'm doing these videos. A lot of the reason I'm doing these videos is so I can teach you what I wished I would have known before I got started. That subscribe button's down below. Make sure you hit it if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time.